What's up, everybody? It's your boy Season. So today, the winner of the viewer request poll was this Wing Gundam EW, the early color version from Metal Composite. So we're going to be taking a look at this today. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. So let's see what we have inside, shall we? So of course, first we've got the manual. So that's pretty run of the mill there. Let's see, we've got the base of the stand there. With the stand, you got a bunch of connect pieces for that. You got some clear pieces there. Looks like you've got a second V-fin. These look like the earpieces here with 3 sets of hands. Looks like you've got a green beam saber there. So very interesting. And then looks like we have the wings here with the shield. You've got the 2, those are like missile pods, I think. And then you've got the big beam rifle there. So it looks pretty good there. And then let's take a look at Wing 0. So we can open him up. Looks pretty good. Oh wow, look at that. Very, very colorful, especially compared to the Endless Waltz version. So let's take a look and see what he's got there. So it looks good there. We're gonna remove that. Pretty stellar for Wing 0. All right, looks good. So let's take a look at the Wing Gundam's articulation. So first up for the head, he can look up, way up, down. He's got some side to side. Of course, that's being blocked a little bit by the Gatling guns here. Let's see if he can spin 360. Looks like he can with not that much problem. You just want to make sure that the chin gets over the Gatling guns here on the side, but that's what you got for the head. For the shoulder, he can raise that up. So pretty decent size there. He does have some way in. That's probably because of his transformation. He does have a little bit of back. Let's see if he can spin this 360. Looks like he can with no problem. Looks like the shoulder joint will go up and down. So you do have that. Doesn't look like these parts actually collapse in on each other though. So that's what you got for the shoulder. For the bicep, it does look like it will spin 360. You just have to move the gauntlet out of the way. Let's take a look at its elbow. Let's see if we can bend that. So it looks like that one will go up all the way to the shoulder. So you got a double hinge here and there. For the forearm, it does look like this will spin 360, even though I did it the reverse way normally. You just got a lot of stuff in the way because of that gauntlet, but it does look like he can get that 360. Let's take a look at the wrist there. So for the wrist, he does have up and down slightly. There's not a lot there. He's got some in, he's got some out, but up and down, not much. And then for the gauntlet, it does look like these parts will move, and you can also raise this and spin it. That probably has to do with this transformation, but you do have that part for the gauntlet. And one last thing with the shoulder, it does look like the shoulder part will separate. You just have to kind of get your nail in there so you can split that open, but it will give you a little bit of movement. If I can get I don't really gotta keep my nails short, so, but it does look like this will raise up some. If I can get my thing in there, there we go. Let's see if we can raise that up a little bit. There we go. So it will raise up ever so slightly compared to the other shoulder. That's the normal size, and then you can have that. So you do have that for the shoulder as well. For the chest and abdomen, let's see what he's got. He does have some down. So he's got down, does he have up? He's got a little bit, not a ton there. Let's see if he's got side to side. A little bit, ever so slightly, but not a ton there. And then let's see if he can spin 360. I'm gonna say no. Looks like he's got about 45 degrees, barely that. Let's take a look at the back there. So what it is that back piece is hitting the back of his back skirt there. So, and you can scratch that up if you try to force it. So that's all he's gonna get. So I would say that that's barely 45 degrees. For the waist, let's take a look at the front skirts. So the front skirts will move independently of each other. It will move out slightly. You've got a gimmick there, so that's interesting there. So you do have that. It will move. Mine is a little stiff, but you do have that. Let's take a look at the side skirts there. So the side skirts will move up and down. So you do have that. It will give you a little bit of room as far as side to side, but not a ton. And then let's take a look at the back. The back looks like it's one fused together piece. So those will not move independently of each other. They do not move out or in. Then for the thigh, let's see here what we've got. It looks like he can get barely 45 on the inside, barely 45 on the outside. I'm not gonna chance that. He does have kind of like this part go up on the thigh, so I don't know if that's blocking it or not. I'm not gonna try to force it because I don't want to break it because this is an older metal composite, but you do have that. Let's go ahead and raise his leg up. Let's see what he's got here. Let's try to raise this up without popping off the front skirt. So I would say that's probably about 120, 125. Not too bad there. Let's take a look at the knee. Now he's got a separate knee joint that probably has to do with his transformation. So let's go ahead and make sure that that is there. So he's got a decent V there. Then for the foot, he does have up slightly. He's got down all the way. That probably has to do with his transformation. So he can go down all the way. So that's good. Let's see if he's got any ankle rock. A little bit, but it's wants to move the whole thing. It's not really moving in or out. You can get it a little bit, but I don't know. This one just seems a little fragile to me, but you do have that. You do have the front guard for the ankle there, and then the ankle is all in die cast. You can kind of see that there. So you do have that for the foot. So that's what we have for articulation. I will say that he is a little limited, especially in the midsection and the thigh area. I really didn't like that all that much, but this is an older metal composite, so it's been around for quite a few years, so I'm not really that surprised. So let's take a look at the Wing Gundam's accessories. So first up, we have the wings. Now, interesting thing about these wings is that really the only movement you're gonna get is at the hinges here and here. So you can move these up and down, and they will go front and back like this. But this part here, none of this will move. All of this is stationary. None of that moves at all. I hope I didn't just break that. Next up, you have the shield. So pretty good detail work here. You've got a bunch of decals around here. This is all in a matte finish here, but you do have that. You do have a connection point for the beam sabers here at the top, and then this is a connection piece for the arm, but that's what you have for the shield. Then you have the Buster Rifle, so nice detail work here. So this is another version of the Buster Rifle. You can move this back. You can also put the rounds in here once you extend this place, and then you can push this in here, and then that will kind of go in there. And then you would do that also for the bottom here. So let's go ahead and do that while we have it. And these are your extra ammo packs or rounds for your Buster Rifle. So you can put those in there. And then we got one more here on the other side, just like this. And we can put this in here like that, and then snap that together, boom. So you've got that there. So that is your Buster Rifle. And then you have the ammo carriers for the Buster Rifle's ammo. So you do get 6 of these. So you get a total of 9 of these packs here, and you can put them in there individually, but these will go on his arms, and we'll simulate that a little bit later. And then with this Wing Gundam, he only gets 1 beam saber. So this one is green, and it's a very short beam saber, if I can get that to focus. Nothing too spectacular about it, but you only get 1 this time, not 2. And then he gets 3 sets of extra hands, and he gets the extra V-fin with the 2 earpieces. This one's different because it is white and blue, so those extend out, which is interesting. And then he's got the regular hands for the Buster Rifle, for the beam sabers, and then his wide open hands there. So let's take a look at this Wing Gundam fully assembled. So this is with his wings on and the shield and all of that. I will say, I really don't like how these feathers, how you really gotta stick this in there to get that to separate. I don't like that at all, so I'm just gonna leave it. But you do have him with the missile pods on there. So I think that that looks cool. You can also extend the gauntlet as well, but it's very, I don't know, it just feels very flimsy to me. So it's very loose because you can pull this whole mechanism out. So you do have that. So you can kind of move that around a little bit. I don't know if I like that though, but you can have that kind of flared out a little bit like that. Now, the one thing about the shield that I don't like how this connects. There are 2 ways to connect the shield. This is probably the best looking way. The other way has it to where the shield is lower. It's a lot lower on his arm, and I don't think that it looks right. So, but what you've got here, let's go ahead and turn him around, he's got this mechanism here that connects to the back of his arm. I do not like that. I don't like how that looks. And it's hard, as you see, it just came out. And I don't know, it just feels very fragile. And that's not really, I don't really like that. You can put the other ammo pack on here, but I found it to be very difficult to have the shield and the ammo part on there. And I've seen it done, but I didn't see it in the instructions how to do that. And I don't know, like you can connect it, but I don't know. It looks like it should be able to snap in here, and it doesn't. So I find that to be very, very strange, because if that's the case, then why have all this extra stuff in here if you're not gonna connect it? It's kind of strange. I really don't like how they did that. Let's take a look at the wings as well. The wings, like I said earlier, it doesn't really give me that much movement. So I don't know, it's okay. It's not my favorite. And I have noticed from time to time, especially when you start moving the wings, because like this little clip here, especially when you're gonna do the transformation, that this part is gonna dislodge here, and it's really just being held on by these two clips. Now you do have a extension to kind of prop the wings up, but I don't really know if you should need those, especially since he's just standing here. He's not really airborne or anything, but I don't know. He feels very, very fragile to me. And I don't know if I like that, and especially with the amount, even though I do like having the feathers or the shoulders there kind of flared out a little bit, it's very difficult to get my nail in there and kind of get those flared out. So I'm probably just gonna leave it. As far as his weight balance issues, he doesn't really have any. It's just kind of the way that I have his feet on the rotating platform. This platform kind of gives me a little bit of problems, especially when I start moving them around. They tend to mark up my platform. So, but other than that, I think he's okay, but not my favorite. So here we have the Wing Gundam in his bird mode. I will say that the transformation is not very difficult. It's definitely way easier than, say, the Zeta. But for me personally, I've never really liked bird modes. I don't know, they just seem kind of silly to me personally, but I would say overall, I think that this looks very, very good. Really, all you're doing is you are messing with the knees. That's probably the most difficult part, to get the knees where they need to be, and then to get the side armor on the ankles where they need to be. That's really it. Everything else is relatively simple. You're just taking the backpack, moving it back towards the back skirt there, that clips in, and then really just moving the arms, rotating the arms, and then you put the gun in front of his face. That's pretty much your bird mode. So I will say that it looks good, even though it's not my personal cup of tea, but I do think that it does look very, very good. So here we have the Wing Gundam fully deployed. Everything is out. So let's call this his full burst mode. He's got the shoulders out here. He's got the sensor here in the chest extended. He's got his Vulcans out as well with the back here. He's got those extended. So I will say that this looks phenomenal. The problem is getting him in a pose like this is very, very difficult. Also, because of his matte finish, he tends to scratch very, very easily. And you see that a lot with model kits. So, but the real major issue that I have with him is the shield part. You see in a lot of the promotional material that you have the shield on top of this ammo pack here. That is very, very difficult to do. And it does not just snap in there. And I don't know, he just seems very, very fragile, this version of him. And I'm just very concerned that he's gonna break. Because I can kind of see with the gauntlet, it's carrying so much weight. Now, how you get the shield on here is kind of an optical illusion. And what that is because in a lot of the promotional material, you'll have this out covering this, but it's really shot at an angle. And why that is because you need one of the attachments. But what I think about the attachment is that the attachment is not long enough, and so that it'll cover this completely. And so a lot of times it's at an angle, and I think that it's too short, to be honest. And so a lot of times, and that also puts stress on this joint with all of this weight here. So that's the real major issue that I have with him. Now, he does have extensions to prop up the wings that came with the metal composite Wing Zero. So he does still have these for this version, but I don't really think he needs them. The wings, pretty much, they're not as heavy as say like the feathered wings would probably be, because you have a lot more plastic with those. So I don't think that that will be the issue. He holds his gun relatively well. I will say that it does tend to droop down just a little bit here. I kind of wanted this up a little bit higher, and you see how that kind of droops down, and that's because that joint can't support all of this weight with the gun, the ammo pack, and the gauntlet. That's putting a lot of stress there. And I don't know, this one just feels very much like a really detailed model, not a figure. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if you are someone who comes from the model kit world, but I probably would have wanted a little bit more here. But I think his extensions there, I think the level of detail in it is very, very good. I like having the extension on the ears. I think that that brings this out very, very well. The problem with getting the extension on the shoulders is that this can be very difficult to kind of keep in this form, because you have this, and anytime that you're trying to move him, of course, you're gonna have to put your hand somewhere in order to apply some pressure to whatever you're trying to do. And a lot of times, whether that's the front part here or whether it's the shoulders, this will collapse. And then because it's not really, I would just say probably like, it's not really locked into place all that well. And so that's my major issue with that. But I think he looks phenomenal. I have no qualms about his look. I think that he looks very, very good. You can see kind of the calf detail there when those are flared out, and this is actually supposed to be out like that. But yeah, this has a feel of a master grade to me, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But when you're paying a lot of money for a premium figure, if I'm scared to break him because I think he's so fragile, that is a problem. But I do like the fact that he can hold this pose with relatively not much support. He's really just being propped up by this piece right here in the back. And as you see, it's not really even in there all the way. So, and that's because I have him down at the lowest angle. You could have him up higher. And of course I could have this extended longer if I wanted to. But I think that overall, I think it looks good. Whether or not you'll want that, we'll save that for final thoughts. But I think that overall, as far as a pose is concerned and posing, he will do what you want him to do. You're gonna have to use kid gloves with him because he's very, very fragile. So last thoughts on this guy, the Wing Gundam EW early color version. Now say all of that 3 times. I will say that I think that this Wing Gundam looks spectacular. Now, if I remember correctly, this is from the Glory of Losers manga. And so I have read that, and you guys know that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Gundam Wing, but one thing that Gundam Wing is well known for is its mobile suit designs. I love the Wing Gundam or the Wing Zero, even though this looks a lot more like the Wing Zero than the Wing Gundam, but I think that this is an interesting redesign, and I think that it looks great. If you come from the model building community world, as far as Gundam is concerned, I think that you will love this version of the Wing Gundam. I think he looks amazing. The problem that I have with him is that he has a lot of problems that the models have, in that number one, they're not very sturdy. They feel very, very fragile, especially when you put a matte coat on there as well, because I've always felt that matte coats kind of make the plastic soft, and that's the kind of look that this guy has, even though he's got a ton of die cast in him as far as in the joints and stuff like that, like we're usually used to with metal builds and metal composites. For some reason with this one, it just doesn't feel right. It feels like I'm dealing with a model kit, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the fact that I need some sturdiness. I was a little bit disappointed with the wings as well. I thought that you would get a little bit more out of the wings than we got here. And even though they look cool, the fact that these don't go in and out, they just kind of, I don't know, they just kind of sit there. You can't really do much with them, I think is a letdown. I think that also the fact that you do have support for the wings and you don't really need them depending on the pose that you're doing, but you might need them later on. I know when I was trying to kind of mess with his posing, the backpack, the latches for that is not very good. And even though those wings don't move, they are slightly heavy. So when you're doing some posing, you will notice that those things will come unlatched and then that the wings will want to fall off. So that is something to be mindful of when you are messing with him. I think the ammo packs, they're okay. I think that they add a lot of unnecessary bulk to them. I don't know if you needed necessarily two. I think you could have got away with just one, even though of course normally more is better. But I don't know, just with this guy, he just doesn't sit very well with me. And it's unfortunate because even with the metal composite Death Scythe EW, I thought that one was a lot better as far as not just his look, because I do like the Death Scythe more than the Wing Gundam or Wing Zero, but I don't know, this one just feels very, very strange to me, especially coming from some of the other reviews that I've done in the metal build world. I don't know, I'm not as impressed with this. Now, the wing mode or the bird mode, I think is actually okay. I actually think that actually might be one of the highlights of this figure, even though the transformation isn't very hard to do. And I think that it looks decent enough, even though I'm not really a fan of mobile suit transformations outside of maybe possibly the Zeta. I think that the Zeta one is decent to where these, I don't really like them all that much. His articulation to me is limited, but this is an older metal composite, so I'm not necessarily that surprised when it comes to his lack of articulation. But my main issue with him is that he's extremely fragile to handle. And if I have to deal with you with baby gloves when I'm dealing with this kind of Gundam, like, I would be scared to put this on a shelf and it fall off. I think that it would probably shatter into 1,000 pieces. Unlike some of my other metal builds, they're a little bit more sturdy, and so they don't really, get damaged all that much if they do, say, fall off their stand, even though that's very rare. But with this guy, because I don't like the connections for this guy, I don't like how the shield connects, especially if you have the ammo packs on there. I don't like how that connects either. I think that was not thought out correctly, or if you're gonna do it to where they have it to where you have to connect it to the back of the forearm, you definitely wanna make sure that the extension is longer so you can actually cover the entire thing instead of having it be sort of like an optical illusion. So to be honest, I'm not very impressed with this guy. So out of 10, I'm going to give him a 7.8. I think that's still a relatively good score, but for me personally, and I'm kind of taking my bias out of the fact that I'm not really a big wing fan, but even so, like, to me, this just leaves a lot to be desired. And I know that this one was based off of the Wing Zero EW, the metal composite version of that, I think came out first, then this one came out second or third. And I don't know, it's just, something to me is missing with this guy. He's very, very fragile, and I can't get over that. He's just too fragile for me to deal with. And even though he looks great, and he looks like a highly detailed model more than a figure. And I don't know if it's just the matte finish on him more than having a gloss finish. That may have something to do with it, but I don't know. It feels like a really good model kit, but not necessarily the greatest metal build or figure, even though this comes from the metal composite line. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you could like, comment, subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. Thank you guys for waiting for this one. This one took a little bit longer to get out because I was sick all last week. And so I had to kind of put this one on hold until I got better, well enough that I could actually finish the review, because this actually took me almost 2 weeks to review, which is a lot longer than I normally take to do most of my reviews. But I thank you guys. This was a viewer request, so always make sure that you guys check out the community tab on the YouTube channel, because I will put up polls. This was the one that won out in the poll as far as the next review that I will do. So you can always check the community tab to see what's going on in the collection space. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.